How's it going? Welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be office based, as you can tell, because I'm inside and I'm not outside doing something awesome based off of last week's video, and that I invited people to comment on something that they might like to see me do. So the one thing that I sort of picked out that I quite liked the idea of doing was how I edit music to a video. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you my process of putting music to video, and a small project, because the overall theme of there would take far too long to film, because I'm sure, as many of you are aware, when you're trying to pick music for a project, it's not a 5-minute job unless you have something in particular in mind already. Generally speaking, picking music to go with a video is the most mind-numbingly lengthy, rabbit hole drowning experience that any creator can get involved in. It's true. So basically what I'm going to do is, this is going to be screen recording more than anything than the speaking to camera. I thought I would get the narrative out of the way first just now, so you kind of know what I'm doing, and I'll walk you through the steps with a voiceover over what I'm doing. In order for this to work though, I needed to pick some video footage, and I didn't want to just pick any random footage, because my music choice on most of my videos is very emotive. I love music. I've been into music for years. I've been a musician. I've played in bands, and I've done marketing with music. I've done a whole host of stuff, and music is a huge part of my life. Just when I'm sitting, if I'm driving places or I'm sitting in the house and got my headphones on, I'm always listening to music. It might be apparent that I'm much of a rock and metal fan, of which I'm not ashamed of at all. I mean, I love music from a huge spectrum of works, but rock and metal is where I started, and is where my first true love of music will always lie. When I get into video and photography and moving images that go with music, I tend to lean towards the more epic, the more cinematic. People like Hans Zimmer really float my boat. When I was younger, growing up, and Star Wars was the big thing, John Williams was a huge part there. And then as you head into the sort of 80s and 90s, it was Danny Elfman that pretty much paved the way for me in that sort of darker style of music. And then Hans Zimmer came along, and when you just think of Hans Zimmer and all the things that he's done, whether it be from especially his score through The Dark Knight and Inception, pretty much any Christopher Nolan movie, the signature tones are just, they're amazing. So with that in mind, I take all that influence, and then I envisage basically what it is that I'm filming, and I put music over the top of it. So in order to make this tutorial a little bit easier to understand, I had to do that. Obviously, because this is about how I do it. This is not how you should do it. This is about how I do it. But like I said, I couldn't possibly edit together a full video with music, because it would take far too long, because there's a lot of, well, we'll just call it fannying about doing it, because there's no real science to it. And I probably could point to other people who could show you the science behind it, but certainly music, for me, music is a rhythmical thing, and it is everything in life is much about rhythm. You move to a rhythm, you breathe to a rhythm, you listen to rhythmical music. Everything has a rhythm to it. So when you start adding music to video, it's about finding the rhythm, and then finding the style of music that suits your visual, because it's far too easy just to slap any music over something and it not to work. Right, okay, let's do this then. Okay, let's open up Premiere Pro and let get that going. I will also open up my folder, and we'll go to a working drive. Okay, we're going to go to a folder that I've got here that has aerial shots in it. Flying Scotsman, and there you go. That is all my ungraded, straight out of drone shots of the Flying Scotsman at various parts of the Central Belt in Scotland, mainly from Edinburgh into Fife. So I've got everything's all tagged there about different places I've shot in Scotland, but basically we're concentrating on this one here, Flying Scotsman. So that's there. So we know that that's the working folder and that's where everything's going to be. So moving on, we now go into Premiere Pro. When you open up Premiere Pro, you always get this this main screen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new project because that's what it is. We're going to call this one Flying Scotsman Music Video Tutorial. We're going to browse and we're going to put that working title into the folder that we just established that we're going to be working in. Flying Scotsman, there we go. I'm going to choose that folder to save the location of the working file. Moving down to the next section here, we're going to go to ingest settings and we're going to tick this box here, ingest. We're going to bring the drop down menu, we're going to hit create proxies. I always select the 1024 by 540, the Apple ProRes 422 proxies. Just the standard, I like them, they work well with this computer. This is an iMac and we are running with 32 gig of memory, so I want to work on proxies because it makes your working process so much quicker because you're not dealing with the proper files, you're dealing with lesser quality files to do your editing with, which is better on a computer that doesn't run as fast. So I select create proxies. I select the preset there, which is already populated, and some folk would just hit OK because it says here the proxy destination would be the same as the project. However, I like to choose the location, and it is the same folder as you can see here, Flying Scotsman, but what I like to do is create a new folder and simply name it proxies, so that when I create it and all the proxies, they get put into their own folder and they're not just strewn about the place in the inside of that folder with all the other working files. So if I hit choose there, that means they're all going to go there. I'm going to hit OK, and then Premiere Pro is going to do its thing and open up the new project with a blank template right across the board. We want to go back to the folder. There we go, there's a folder with all the footage in it. As you can see here, the proxies and indeed the project file for Premiere Pro. Across here, here's your project window. So in here, I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it aerial shots. They are the only shots that I've got, but I'm creating aerial shots anyway. I'm going to go back to the folder here and I'm going to Command A to select it all, hold down Command and deselect those two things because I'm not going to copy them across. I'm going to take all the files and I'm going to drag them across here, hold them over the top of that folder and release. As you'll see, all the files will populate inside that folder in a numerical order. Fabulous. What it's also doing now is it's creating its proxies. If I go down here, you'll notice that Media Encoder is now started up, and it will start to encode these raw files into the proxy working files that I'm going to use for the editing, and it does it automatically if you have Media Encoder installed. In the interest of speeding things up, we will speed ramp all the way through this and I'll see you at the other end. Right, okay, so once you've got your music and you're good to go, you've got your videos in, you've got your music, and basically you're ready to start editing now. Now, what I do down here, next to the bins, new item, sequence, because sequence is what we want to create down here. I know that I shot everything in 4K, so I might just create a 4K timeline. Now, as you can see, I've created custom ones here because this is what I use all the time, whether it be 1080, 4K, or a CinemaScope one. But invariably I use 4K, and I either upscale or downscale depending. But if you don't have that already, you can go to any one of these and pick whatever timeline suits your video settings. I always shoot in 4K 25 frames, as you can see here. I'm just going to hit OK on the 4K 25 frames. Boom. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drop in your audio. So just drag and drop, simple as that. And obviously you can make this a little bit bigger depending on how you want to work it, and stretch it back so you can see what's going on. So as like I said, as you can see from the start here right the way to the end of a 2 2.5 minute song, but you can see that rise all the way up, and the music starts off slow and low, much like some drone work. It gets to this first cut-off point, and then the section changes, and then there's another cut-off point, and then this section changes again as it leads into its end. So what you have to do is you have to decide then, which part of this song do you want to start with? Do you want to start with this slow and low, nice wee bit here till it ends, miss out the middle section, and then cut straight to the end? Or do you want to kind of have a slow lead in to this section and this section? Or do you want to just have a short section on its own? Because if that was me, this first and second section here would actually do. You could actually just cut that out and forget the end bit if you think it's just too dramatic for what you're wanting. But to be honest, I quite like it. I'm quite into it. Now here's part of the problem. I've been sitting now for, I don't know, it's probably about half an hour's worth of footage now, and I haven't actually done any editing, because the music is what's inspiring me to do the cut, and I need to get my head around the cut. I need to get my head around the music as well to get my head inside the cut, which is just an absolute nightmare, because trying to show someone how to do this on a short time scale is actually damn near impossible. So I need to make a decision. Do I want the video to start off slow and with a sort of low impact, building into something a bit more, or do I want it to start immediately with a high impact and continue to grow till it finishes? But generally speaking, I can't make that call until I've started editing, and that's part of the problem with this whole editing process. To be honest, I think for the purpose of this video, I'm going to cut this. You use my C key, or you can go over here and press the razor blade tool. What I do is if I zoom in on that section there, you can see where the audio dips in and then dips out again, and there's just a nice flat point right in the middle there. So I just clip that and delete that last section. I think what I'll do is I'll just edit this video to this one middle section, and then if I do exactly the same at the other dip, we know exactly what we're working with. Okay, so if I put this back to the end again, that's us right at the beginning, and that's the piece of music that we're going to work with. So we've got this roll in, and then we've got this roll out, and that's basically how we're going to finish it, or we're going to insert loads of clips into here, and then that'll be it. Now there's two ways you can do this. There's the lazy way, and then there's the more creative way. When you press the M key, you'll notice these markers appear. These green markers appear on the timeline. Now, depending on how good your ability to mark out music is, I guess you'll find out. What I want to do here then is just press play. And I'm just hitting a marker in on all the beats. Basically, I'm counting for 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they should be roughly spaced out one apart. Now, the lazy way to do this is that now you've got these intervals here, you've got that exact cut happening on each of those tracks. The best way to deal with that would be to pick a track, or pick a clip, sorry, find a little bit that you want to work with. So look, here's a bit of the Flying Scotsman coming out of Dalmeny train station, getting ready to hit the 4th rail bridge. So we'll put a marker in and a marker out of this section here. So I'm just going to basically have that greyed out clip there. Go back, select the next clip, find another section that I want to play. Let's go with this one just for quickness. I'll just do that there and then do that there. Go to the next one. There's the train coming through Stirling. Let's go, we'll start the clip there and we'll finish it there. Then the next one. Okay. So basically you select the first one, and then go to the bottom, hold your shift key, select that one. Go to clip, go to automate to sequence, the placement at numbered markers, selection order as you've selected, which is in the sequential mode, and you don't have to touch anything else. Use the in-out range, which is what you selected on each of the clip, and in and an out section, and when you hit OK, it will throw down each of those clips that you selected and place them down on the timeline. So basically the first one will start at the first marker and finish at the second marker, and then the second one will kick in. That's the lazy way of doing it, but as you'll see, but certainly you get the idea if you're doing it automatically, and you know, that would save you a lot of time, especially if you're wanting to put a lot of clips down. Just go through each of them. You can probably work out how long each clip's going to be, because you're the one that you've put the number marker in, so you know that it's a 4 count, because that's what you were counting. Similarly, you don't have to use the automation for this now. If you go back into the clip that you set it out, you can just go to this little icon here, which is the video. If there's audio, there'll be audio attached, so be careful. If you want the audio, you'd have to grab the whole thing, or individually depending on what you want, but there is only video here, so I would just drag that section onto my timeline, but then I would drag the end of it back to the start of the next marker until you see the black line appear, and then you can release it, and then you know that that section is within the 4 count that you made earlier on. And then you would go back to your next clip, whatever that is, which in this case is this one, and do exactly the same. Just lift it, drag it, drop it down, grab the end of it, and then take it back to the marker that you have pre-made, and just do that for each clip that you've designated. So there you go. That's you've got a finished timeline now of events that's running from the very start. It's all about now just tweaking all that out, because you know there's better bits of each of those tiny clips. You're only getting 4 seconds of each of those clips to try and illustrate a story. And that's you effectively edited a nice piece of video together to go with the music. And obviously what you need to do is, when you're listening to the music, listen to the swells, listen to the impacts, and allow the impacts of the music translate and transition with the video, and then that gives your viewer that perception of well, basically awesome video. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. Obviously what we need to do is we need to tidy this up, but obviously this video was about editing the music rather than editing full stop, and I feel that the video is going on fair enough. But to tidy this up, what I would do is I'd go into my effects, and I would use a film dissolve and put it over the end of the last track. I would also use a constant power fade and put that over the music at the bottom. Similarly, at the beginning, I will do a film dissolve. I prefer that because it comes in gradually, and same with the constant power audio. It masks the fact that you've cut the beginning and end of that section of music, so when you play it, you get a much more cinematic impact. and then when you get to the end, and that's all you need. That is all you need. Now I would just grade it, make sure the exposure's right across them all, throw a little bit of colour grading onto the top of it to make it a little bit more cinematic. In fact, I'll do it, I might not actually add this into the edit. But hopefully it made sense, and hopefully you can understand how it is I do it. It is a long process. Trying to put music to anything is an absolute nightmare. But once you get something and you edit it and you're happy with it, it can evoke that emotion that you were looking for initially when you were looking for the music. So it's a worthwhile thing to do, but it can be very time consuming, and I know a lot of people struggle with it. I struggle with it, although I have an abundance of music and I have a great mind for music and I love music and I hear it all the time. It's just not easy to find the right music to go with the image, or indeed what you're trying to promote with the images that you're editing together. So it takes a little bit of time and a bit of footering around, but I'm happy to answer any more questions if I haven't really covered it here. This is quite a quick demonstration about how I do it, and probably not as methodical, and I'm very much limited to my ability to do these kind of tutorial style videos, but hopefully this is all translated well enough across. Thanks very much, like the video, and I'll speak to you on the next one, whatever that will be, because we all know I'm not really that switched on. And enjoy the video. Here's my final rendered piece, and I will see you next time.